I don't know if you technically have to put a spoiler tag on a game that's almost a decade old, but I'm going to tell you I'm going to spoil Halo 3 to ODST. So if you ain't played it yet, stop the video, go play it, come back when you're done. This game is a star-studded cast lineup. I pulled it up on my phone. Nathan Fillion, Adam Baldwin, Alan Tudyk, Nolan North, Trisha Helfer, just to name a few of the star-studded cast that made Halo 3 ODST. And I don't know if this was because it's the Firefly reunion game or what, but critics absolutely love Halo 3 ODST. I just finished playing it, and after thinking about it for a while, I don't think it was that good of a game, but not for the reason that a lot of people probably think. Obviously, Halo 3 is a very, very different type of game. You're not playing as a Spartan. You're playing as the Orbital Drop Shock Trooper, the Rookie. And you are sent in on a mission that is taking place away from the Master Chief. And up until now, we've only ever played with the Master Chief or with the Arbiter at this point in Halo lore. Obviously, later on during Halo Reach, you play as Noble 6. And Halo 5 features Spartan Locke or any of the other Fireteam Osiris team members or Blue Team members, depending on what you're playing. I digress. This game was told via flashbacks, which I think is a really cool idea. So the original mission was the ODSTs were going to drop into the city of New Mombasa, Earth, the mega city, after the flood had begun attacking in order to try to detonate one of the corvettes that was kind of sitting over the city. So how ODSTs work is they drop down in these pods, and they're going to drop down in these missile kind of little pods, you know, and then the hatch blows open and they all run out into combat. Cool idea. However, right as the mission begins, your captain, Captain Dare, who has now commandeered this division of ODSTs, originally led by Buck, Edward Buck, who later becomes a pivotal character in Halo 5, but again, we don't know that yet. Captain Dare commandeers Buck's team and at the last second diverts the mission and says, hey, you thought we were going to go attack this Covenant Corvette. We're not. We're actually going to go somewhere else, and we're going to do something else. Halfway down, an explosion occurs, and the team is scattered. And you wake up as the rookie hours after this explosion and try to piece together the mystery of what happened. And you basically walk the streets of New Mombasa, a largely barren zone, trying to put together what happened. And everything's told via flashbacks. So you may see a sniper rifle that's bent, hanging from a power line or something. And you look up at it, and then it'll rewind in time, and you'll see the part where up on that building, one of the other ODSTs held this sniper rifle out as a brute tried to hit him with a hammer. The sniper rifle bent, it fell off, it repelled on the thing. And you see all these relics. That's kind of like what leads you into the story. On paper, it sounds like a cool idea. You got a flashback, and you have a story that you can tell now that has nothing to do with the Master Chief, so you have no fear of breaking any kind of lore. That this considered also that this was an expansion to Halo 3, which was a flashback to the events between Halo 2 and Halo 3. So even though you're framed within the world of kind of Halo and sort of the Master Chief story, free reign from the guys over at Bungie to put together what any adventure that they wanted. It didn't have to have anything to do with, conventions. These ODSTs were largely unknown. Edward Buck, brand new made-up character. Captain Dare, made-up character. Mickey, all the other ODSTs, even the rookie, who is you, but you're kind of inconsequential to the story. All these characters could be whatever they want. So given that they had free reign, they had an opportunity to tell a really grandiose story and an adventure. But if you kind of take a step back and look at it, it really wasn't all that great. So forgetting how the story is told, which albeit was a very, very cool way to tell a story, the basic story was that the ODSTs come in. At the last second, again, Captain Dare diverts everybody to try to capture an engineer, which you guys know those big floating, they're really kind of slaves to the Covenant. We're not really sure what they were. But to capture an engineer to kind of have it help humanity to somehow turn the tide of war against the Covenant. Not nearly on a grand scale of something like Reach, where you're trying to grab Cortana, for example, which totally changed the tide of war. This was just an engineer who was largely inconsequential. I think most of us just accepted between Halo 2 and Halo 3 that the Master Chief fell from the sky, just happened to land by Sergeant Johnson and the Arbiter, and they began their mission. What they want you to believe was that this engineer really kind of helped strategize the human war and tried to help Master Chief push back the Covenant, but it doesn't really work out when you think about it. So the end goal is kind of dumb of ODST. And the actual adventure, what happened was largely inconsequential. There were some burst battles here and there. You know, you were trying to basically get the band back together. So all these ODSTs were scattered, and Buck kind of goes out and finds all these beacons and brings them all back together. They decide to escape on a Pelican. Of course, things go horribly wrong. The Pelican, you know, undertakes heavy gunfire, so they have to leave on foot. And then that's when, at the last second, you meet up with Captain Dare, who was largely missing through the entire adventure. You meet up with her, and she and you, as the rookie, and Buck, go find this engineer. End of the game. When you look back at it, the ODSTs, who are supposed to be these really badass, elite, super soldiers, basically everything a Spartan was with the exception of the genetic augmentation, so much so that all of the characters in this game, in the Halo lore, eventually become Spartans. And they have a whole story and a couple books, Ghost of Oryx is the first one of those books, that actually explains how Edward Buck becomes a Spartan, and how Mickey becomes a Spartan, and how Rourke becomes a Spartan, all the adventures that they go off and have. So ODSTs are pretty tough people. You could argue they may be even stronger than Spartans, only in the sense, not physically, but in the sense that they're expected to perform incredibly wild, near suicidal missions without the super suit, without the genetic augmentations that a Spartan is given. They're just dudes that are just really freaking tough. So that is cool. That whole idea is cool. If you remember the commercial leading up to it, there was a great TV spot where you see a guy getting his head shaved after basically it's a little boy who's at his brother's funeral. His brother was an ODST, and you watch this boy basically go through boot camp and become an ODST himself, and he's out there fighting on the front lines. Very, very strong commercial. Really kind of sets the tone for what an ODST was, because at the time we didn't really know much about them. But in this game, they're not. What they did wasn't really all that exciting. Now, they did try to paint the picture that ODSTs were tough while simultaneously kind of boosting up the legend of the Master Chief, because a lot of the in-street fighting was just basically almost one-on-one matches between you, playing as the rookie, and brutes, with a couple of grunts, you know, and maybe some jackals sprinkled in there. But those are tough fights, especially when you don't have any kind of shield. Your guy, you can hear him start panting a lot when he's running. You can't take much gunfire. You die very easily. Pretty much any melee shot will just trash you. And you can't even really melee anything one shot unless you do a sneak attack, which later on, I think they kind of explain when Buck jumps on the back of that brute chieftain and stabs him in the back. I'm assuming that was kind of like what the game intended to happen, but all you did was like melee a person, they just dropped over dead. But you think of like in Halo, like when you'd run up to a guy, you'd run at him full auto with your AR, shooting him, and then you'd smash him, and he would go flying across the screen, ragdoll physics, and die. In ODST, that doesn't necessarily happen, because it shouldn't happen, because you're just a guy. You don't have that superhuman strength. So I think it did a good job of painting that legend of the ODSTs being kind of tough soldiers, while also cementing how incredibly powerful the Master Chief and the rest of the Spartan 2s were, that they can do this with ease, as where, you know, Master Chief's clearing out basically, you know, hundreds and thousands of these aliens. You're on the barren street of New Mombasa fighting 2 or 3, and you're barely able to take them out. I feel like that was a really good mechanic that was put into place. Uh-oh. My computer crash here? Hold on. There we go. We're back. I don't know. My webcam's acting up. Anyways, I like that part of it. What I didn't like about it, though, was that the action was very dry. There wasn't really a lot of these epic moments. These ODSTs should have these huge, big fights where, they're sent in, feet first into hell. I mean, that's their slogan, right? Instead, you're walking up and down city streets, listening to old data calls between other people that were trying to escape that you don't really care about. Your character, the rookie, largely knocked out unconscious during all the action. You're just walking around. So as this big, tough ODST, you spend the entire game unconscious while Buck goes off and does his adventures with the rest of the ODSTs. You're just learning about everything after the fact. And again, when you look at the whole story at the end, what did we really accomplish? Yes, we got an engineer, which is supposed to be, maybe help turn the tide of war. But in reality, how much epicness was really there? Not a lot. And I feel like it was such a wasted opportunity. I feel like the ODST story and our introduction to their lineage could have been so much greater, and there could have been such a better end game put in place here. And there really wasn't one put in, and that's really frustrating. So that's why I really, despite the fact that all the praise I give it, ultimately my final opinion of it is that very negative. I would be a very bad reviewer if I did not mention that the soundtrack in this game is absolutely phenomenal, on par with Halo 3, in my opinion, the absolute best soundtrack of the game, of any Halo game. But I really love the fact that Marty O'Donnell was basically given free reign to go just completely wild. There's a lot of really long, somber piano pieces and a lot of music and instruments that you typically wouldn't hear in another Halo game that really set the mood and tone of this bleak hopelessness that was New Mombasa when the ODSTs were there trying to, do their mission and all that sort of stuff. One other thing I wanted to mention about the story that was very odd to me, and as a pretty big Halo nerd, reading about the lore and understanding all this kind of stuff, it was very clear through the game that Spartan Buck, or sorry, not Spartan back then, Edward Buck, ODST, and Captain Dare were romantic together at some point, and then they broke apart because it turned out that Dare was an Oni spook but didn't tell Buck. And either they were engaged, he proposed to her and she said no, or she never answered the question. A lot of the game was spent with Buck kind of trying to work out his relationship with her, and it just didn't really flow. I think we can all universally agree as nerds that Nathan Fillion is amazing. We love all his work. We loved his work in Firefly. We loved his work in ODST. We love his work in Destiny 2 as Cade 6, the awesome hunter. I think we can all agree that, is it Cade 6? There's Cade 6, the, oh my God, it doesn't even matter. No one plays Destiny anymore. Who cares? In Destiny, we loved his work, right? You could tell me if I'm wrong in the comments below. We can agree Nathan Fillion is amazing, but he can't carry the game, and his over-the-top personality, even when you're fighting with him alongside it, he's basically giving you this riff track of like, whoa, that was ugly, and hey, nice shot there, killer, and oh boy, where are we going now? Like, he's constantly talking and yapping. You could really see the beginnings of his career in Destiny kind of starting here, which is probably why they brought him back, because they wanted kind of a goofball character, and he definitely fills that role in this game. But even with that wit and charm that he has, it's just not enough, and it's really hard to care about his relationship to this girl because Earth is completely being decimated at this point. Cities evacuated, there's dead people everywhere, there's cars flipped over, buildings on fire, and he's making jokes trying to get back with his girlfriend. It doesn't really add up. So in hindsight, looking back at everything, yes, the music was good. Yes, the presentation was well received, and I think you really could play a role play in your head, really put your mindset of an ODST, and for that reason I think the game succeeds. But narrative wise, epic storytelling wise, lots of lull in the gameplay. I can't say it was really one of the shining moments in Halo. And again, that's so odd to me looking at the Metacritic scores and seeing how high this game was praised. And a lot of people really loved it. A lot of people love the firefight mode, which is fun. But as far as like a core Halo experience, didn't really answer the mail. So take that with a grain of salt. If you're somebody like me who has the Master Chief Collection, but you really don't have much of an excuse to turn it on right now, at least until 343 answers the call of this year to see what kind of updates they give, this may be a reason to bring you back. I picked it up for $5 on a Black Friday sale. This is the remastered version, so it's got, you know, a better frame rate, higher resolution textures, that sort of thing. You may end up enjoying it if you're looking for a different Halo adventure, just for something different. If you want to experience some part of a new story, as we kind of wait to see what happens with Master Chief Collection and any news we may or may not get about Halo 6 anytime in the near future. But those are my thoughts on it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave some comments below. Let me guys know what you think about this adventure. Did I get it completely wrong? Is this the best Halo game of all time? I don't know. I don't think so. As always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Get out there and play any kind of Halo game at all, or watch the Halo World Championships, or buy the Boomco blasters, or support this game because it's so amazing. It's by far my favorite franchise of all time. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.